Greetings! Welcome into the Sports Shuffle. It is August 1st. We are less than 5 weeks from the official start of the NFL regular season. I am Flying Ryan Gilchrist along with.
Tampa Motor Mouth Joel Verona, are you tired of hearing about the heat dome flying?
I'm tired of living in a heat dome.
Oh
I
my!
know that much for sure. As Joel's name may indicate, as the Tampa Motor Mouth,
That's
he lives in the Tampa area, and they had their first 100-degree day last Saturday. So if you were outside in Florida last Saturday, you experienced something that we haven't had in
I've
a very, very long time.
gotta hand it to the Bucks. I know they're making their money, but when you have to practice in this heat, full dress and all the other things, and they have to do all the drills and routines, I'm just like how you don't spontaneously explode.
Yeah, it's not fun. Not fun to be outside in Florida right now.
Yeah, because you go outside and it's like the ongoing joke is stay inside and indoors and hydrated until December 1st.
Stay inside, don't die. Yeah, that's pretty much how it is down here. But it is breaking for a lot of the country. In Florida, it'll break sometime between October and January, hopefully.
Yeah, because Dennis Phillips actually posted, and I know we're a sports podcast, but
We could talk weather all day.
he posted a question. Do you prefer January 1st or now? That was the poll, and I've got to actually put a new option there. How about March? March is in between. You're not freezing, and you're not roasting. So I'd like to put a new option in that poll.
As a fan who likes the cold, I would say January 1st, but March 1st is very nice. But for anybody asking that question and honestly thinking of August 1st is the better time, who hurt you? And why are you preparing to go to hell? Because, hey, alarm. Because that's what this weather is. It is just purely hell.
So are we alarmed for some reason?
Yeah, I had a reminder just so I would remember we had this going on later.
Oh,
We did
okay.
it early and I forgot to turn off the alarm. So, woo! We are ahead of on schedule of screwing up.
No,
Yay!
we're just trying to put out the fact that there's something always a buzz on the sports shuffle.
Or that. I mean, that could be more breaking news like the trade requests that are now flowing in the
Yeah,
NFL.
but I
know
think
Joel wants
to segue first to something that I think we need to talk about. It's not one of those stories you want to talk about, but if we didn't have copyright strikes and DMCA and all that junk, because anytime you put like 5 seconds of a song in your YouTube or on Facebook, then all of a sudden the DMCA button, you can get a copyright strike. Because I'll never forget, because just segueing it, I put something in a video once that was something from like 18, I don't know, it was like classical music, Ryan. And I was thinking, well, this should be okay. But what I didn't realize was, well, the piece was from the 1800s, the recording thereof was current and modern, and that's what they were giving me a copyright strike on at the time. And I'm just like, are you kidding me? Squeak toy in full effect. But seriously, if it wasn't for copyright music for this first story, we would definitely have the song "Tell Me Why I Don't Like Monday" in the background. Because start off the podcast, like I said, it's not something you want to talk about, but holy crap, just when you turn on the internet and you're like, why is there a police presence, a major police presence at 345 Park? I mean, if you're an NFL fan, that is the citadel where the wheel of justice is housed.
Yeah, the story to just kind of lay it out there. A man goes to attack the NFL headquarters in New York, claiming he has CTE. This is not Antonio Brown. I feel like that is
Yeah, that
something that
was
actually needs to
my
be
first
said.
thought. My first thought was, did he finally snap?
It does need to be said. It sounds like a recurring joke, but he has been accused of attempted murder and does all kinds of crazy stuff. So it was not him. It was actually someone who's never played in the NFL or college.
Just played high school football, right?
Just played high school football, thought he had CTE, left a note saying what he was doing, and at the very end of it said, "Please study my brain," and a very, you know, I'm sorry, but please study my brain. Yeah, it's not really an apology, and no one really cares what you think. But yeah, attacks him, kills 4 people. I don't think any of them were actually NFL personnel.
Well, because the
Um,
whole crazy tangent of the story is that he was trying to go up to the NFL elevators, and there's a very specific set of elevators that you have to go up to go up. Then you have to be cleared, and he went up the wrong elevator.
Yeah, large buildings like that, they don't just have one elevator shaft. In New York, having so many skyscrapers, you're going to have an elevator that goes from floor 1 to 30, and it's going to make those stops. And then if you have to go to floor 40 or higher, it's going to be a different elevator. And you're going to have to sometimes do one elevator to get to another elevator just because of the height of the buildings. And they don't want everybody stopping on floor 2, floor 4, floor 7 when you have to go up to floor 46. So he went to the wrong bank of elevators. He shot an off-duty police officer who was working security in the building, and 3 others that were not NFL affiliated. He did shoot an NFL affiliated person who was trying to tell people to evacuate the building. He was unstable, but in the hospital, so he, I believe, is going to be okay. I haven't seen a whole lot of updates on him and more the rest of the story
And
that
I
is
think
unfolded.
the off-duty officer who unfortunately lost his life was actually picking up some extra work.
Yes, he was
Mm.
definitely picking up extra work. He was doing basically a moonlight job as security for this building. So very sad situation there. Had 2 kids already with a third on the way. Um, and as someone who has been trained in how to teach active shooter survival training, it bothers me and infuriates me that that is something that somebody needs to be able to teach, let alone me, because it shouldn't be the endemic that it is. Not going to get into politics because that's not going to be productive in this scenario. But the fact that this continues to happen, and it ticked me off during the Hall of Fame game, actually, when before the national anthem, they said, "We want to have a moment of silence for the unimaginable violence that occurred." It's like, how is it unimaginable when it happens every single day? I don't like the phrasing. I understand you're trying to give it the weight it deserves, but you can just say it was tragic. At this point, just say it's
Yeah,
unimaginable. It's like,
unimaginable.
a gunman goes into a building and shoots people is not unimaginable. That's called day to day life in this country. Again, trying not to get into politics on that one, but that aside, that kind of just irked me because I'm tired of I'm tired of talking about stories like this. If you can't tell,
Yeah,
but when they happen, and we are a sports podcast, and then we primarily talk about the NFL.
yeah,
When
because
it
when you
happens at the NFL headquarters, we kind of have to mention it at least.
yeah, because it's just when you have Hall of Fame game week, everything should be about the Hall of Fame game and the Hall of Fame ceremony, and you have something just unspeakable happen like that, and there's just no real way, I think, to segue out of that. But
Yeah, this is the guy who had mental illness. It was the guy who was called. He was from, I guess, the Vegas area. He had had some kind of a run-in with police about this, or not that long ago. So this is a sick individual who did some sick things. Unfortunately, there are 4 people that did not come home to their families that day that should have otherwise. And again, a horrific tragedy that unfortunately is being blown up because this happened at the NFL, but it happens every day. There are more shootings in America than days in the year. So this one's getting a little more publicity because of where and what it was going after, but not to make light of the other hundreds
but
of these that happen a year, but a
then
very
of
sad
course
situation in New York.
you go to Thursday, you switch ahead from Monday, the NFL issuing a statement. You hope that anybody in the building who had to take a day off or some time off, I don't see how it's like, oh, okay, let's go back to work, dooby dooby doo
Oh,
after.
it's different.
Yeah.
And I'm going to come from, I don't even know if I've told you this, Joel, but about a year and a half ago or 2 years ago, the reason I am trained in active shooter survival is because the site I work at, not my building, but the large factory facility that we work at, had an active shooter
Mm,
situation. It was a targeted thing. It was a love triangle. The boyfriend of one of
mm.
the girls found out about the side piece or whatever it was and said, "I'm going to go after that person. And that is one of the forms of,
Yeah, people tend not to think very clearly when that's involved.
so there are definitely different forms of active shooter situations. There are the kinds like the NFL where you're targeting a group of people because of a cause or a reason. This was a personal vendetta. And a lot of times these personal vendettas will start, that's a lot of the school shootings. You'll go after one person and then you're like, well, I've already committed a felony and done all this horrible stuff and I've made my peace with Jesus or whoever you believe in. I'm going to keep going. Um, and So I'm coming from I've seen that we've had security changes. We've had people now watching the doors. We have people doing this other stuff. We have to do checks in the morning when we go into the building a year and a half later. And I know the first couple of days in the building after this happened, you weren't sure what was going to happen that day. So we knew pretty quickly on in that it was an isolated incident. The guy was on the run. He probably wasn't going to come back to our facility and do anything more because, well, we had all the extra security presence and we knew who the guy was, and we're trying to figure out, like, hey, if you come back, you're going to have a bad time. But you didn't know what was coming. Anytime you hear someone pounding on a door to try and get in because you have magnetic locks on doors, they don't want people just Miranda or, wandering through buildings. You don't know what's coming. So for especially employees of the NFL specifically, because they were the targets, even though they weren't necessarily the main victims in this, because the people that were killed were not NFL employees. But everybody in that building, they're looking over their shoulder. They're wondering if there's another person. They're wondering if this was a one-off or if this is going to be the start of something, even though rationally it was one actor doing what they wanted to do. It's not a movement against the NFL or anybody else in that building, but the rational side of your mind when you are in fear goes away. So all of these people, the next time they're in that building, the NFL told everybody to work remote the next couple of days or probably the whole week. The next time you're in that building, that's going to cross your mind like, well, what if someone comes in again? And it's a very, you remove the security from someone's mind, and that's a very, very dark thing. And you don't have to be in the actual position where it was. Again, it happened at our overall facility, not in the building I'm at, not in a time when I was there, but you still think about it the next day because you're like, well, what if the guy does come back? What if somebody else does this?
I can imagine that's something that's like always in the back of your mind.
Yeah, and the reason I got involved with the active shooter training thing is because they had a workplace violence demonstration. That was the course I ended up learning how to teach. I'm like, oh great, yeah, we're gonna have a workplace violence. Oh, don't sleep with your coworkers if they're married, so someone might shoot you. And like, it ended up being like a, no, this is the reality of America. It sucks that I have to teach you this, but here's some very graphic descriptions and all of this about what active shooters are. Like, it opens with a video from an active shooter who live streams, because a lot of them live stream it, which is really sick, from New Zealand going after a mosque. And it's like, oh, okay, well, now I know what we're dealing with. This is not just something stupid and, oh, we got to do it because we had a problem. Like, no, we're teaching how to survive. So I come out with a little different perspective than a lot of people with that background. But yeah, it's a nasty, horrific act and a tragedy that 4 families just lost a member for no valid reason.
And there's no easy way, I think, to segue from this to anything else, unless you have anything else on this that you want to put
Now,
out
like
there.
I said, I don't enjoy talking about stories like
Yeah,
this because I'm
yeah, because
sick of them being part of the lexicon in this
yeah,
country.
'cause when you're into sports like we are, it's like sports is sort of like a different a dimension, quantum reality, if you will, that we tend to like to go to slide away from everything going
Yeah,
on
I
in the
think
world.
Goodell during the pregame of the Hall of Fame game, because I am that level of nerd. I watched some of it, and they'd had an interview with him, and he was talking about what had happened. He said, a lot of people see the NFL as the escape from reality, and reality came to our door. And it's like, well, yeah, it hits differently when the line from Twister, you don't know how it feels to watch it miss that house and then come after you. It's one of those things where you see it on the news, you're like, oh yeah, that's sad. That's always sad. But when it's like, oh, I've now experienced it, or oh, someone I care about has now experienced it, it hits a little bit differently. So it's kind of good to see the humility and the human side of Roger Goodell. a little bit. He's still, the commissioner of the NFL, so I don't know how affected he was by it. But it was good to see that, hey, it did come after him, and they're now looking at things a little bit differently.
It was called, hey, he is a human being. But speaking,
Yeah.
of course, of the Hall of Fame game, I mean, I skipped. I'm not as much of a nerd as you are with that. I
It
just
was
sort of
on. I wouldn't say I was watching it. For anybody who did, I'm sorry you have nothing better to do. The Chargers did win the game 34-7.
you
It was
have to.
nice to see O'Marion Hampton get a few touches. Isaac Tesla, or whatever, Tesla. Law. He had a few catches for the Lions, both rookies. You saw some flashes from guys like Trey Lance, who's the possible backup. He's in the battle with Heineke for the Chargers backup job. But it's a Hall of Fame game. The
Yeah, yeah.
preseason doesn't really matter anyways.
You have to feel for the Lions when Dan Campbell is not happy about a pretty much a meaningless game.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Those coaches, it's a meaningless game because no significant starters played on either side. O'Marion Hampton may be the biggest star player, and he's a rookie. He, by the end of the year, is going to be like, oh, he played in the Hall of Fame game. That doesn't make sense. But a few years ago, Josh Jacobs did. So it happens.
Yeah.
But for the players that are playing in that game, it's a very important game because it's hopefully going to determine whether you are an NFL player or an insurance salesman in about 3-4 weeks. So I think Dan Campbell's not upset that they lost the game. He's upset that the players that are trying to make this roster put forth such a bad effort into doing well. I mean, it started with a fumble on the opening kickoff by a linebacker who was somehow returning kicks. That was a weird story. They did show the first ever virtual first down measurement, which was kind of lame, but okay. It was also on a very clear first down, which is like, well, why wouldn't you do that on a close one?
Remember the old 2020 parody of the NFL referees, Call It Maybe?
Yeah.
Hey,
But it was good to see
I'll
them.
call it maybe.
It was good to see that they had the technology in place. They still have the chain game, but it didn't seem like they were ever going to use them again. But they had it. It's like, oh, look, they go to the screen and it says well, it's first down. It's like, okay, cool, I guess.
Fifth
But
down, seventh down.
But to
We're
see
making it
football back,
up.
to see a couple teams masquerading in NFL jerseys, because I wouldn't say they were the NFL teams actually playing, it was good. First game in July because the season's now moving even further into the summer. But we are 34 days away, 5 weeks from yesterday, from the opening game, the Eagles and the Cowboys. And while we're on the topic of Dallas,
but allow me just to toss out before we get to our double BOGO bookends of they want out. But for me, I just want to say the Hall of Fame game is just I look into it. It's a signpost,
Yeah.
It's like the long trip in the car that you're going. Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? And then there is fantasy football drafts and actual meaningful football.
Yep.
And the Hall of Fame game is like you're almost there. Hang in there just a little while longer.
Yeah, like I mean, this week alone, I've set our 16-team draft. I think the end of last week, I've set our Yahoo 10-team league draft, which is one of the very few leagues that's not on Sleeper at this point. That and 2 NFL leagues. The NFL leagues are working on it, and we've had another couple of Sleeper leagues that I don't run start be like, hey, yep, here's where we do this. I know the Megla Bowl, which is a big thing I like to do with the fantasy footballers, run that one. That should be coming up by the end of the month or so. But yeah, I said the Hall of Fame game was on. It wasn't really being watched, but it was on. I was actually keeping an eye on my YouTube to see if the Disc Golf World Championship post-produced coverage had hit, but they had a 4-hour lightning delay, so it was delayed till this morning. Yeah, they finished up. Fortunately, they're playing in Finland, which is the first time it's gone international, but they were playing in a very northern climate close to the summer solstice, so they have a lot more daylight. They actually finished up after 10 p.m., and it was still light enough to see.
Yeah, that's where daylight is like for 6 months, right?
They have a lot more daylight for about 3 or 4 months around the solstice, then kind of goes to a normal, and then it goes to excessive darkness when you get closer to the winter solstice. But yeah, there was actually a round in yesterday's by a guy by the name of Ezra Aderhold, who nobody other knows, that was talked about as possibly the greatest round of all time. as he was
Yeah,
14 under on a
really,
very
Homer
difficult course.
Simpson. I have
Kudos,
no idea who that is.
kudos to Ezra Aderhold for doing something absurd. I can't go 14 under on a pitch and putt course, but he's doing it
The
on
only
probably
E-
one of the hardest courses on the world.
the only Ezra I
Anyways,
the only Ezra I know is fictional Ezra Bridger from Rebels and Ahsoka. That
fun fact: there are two well-known Ezras in disc golf: Ezra Aderhold and Ezra Robinson. Both have had their first ever wins this year.
neither are a Jedi though.
Yes. Anyways, I digress. I have a disc golf hat and a disc golf brain, but we are a football podcast for the most part. Oh yeah, that Sharks thing right there. Those are discs that I can actually throw. Anyways,
double BOGO they want out, as you mentioned, Dallas first, and Micah Parsons, who posted that he's done everything he has possibly could to remain a Cowboy, and he wants out.
Yeah, Jerry is dumb, is what I got out of that. Basically, he said, hey, when I was on the third year of my rookie deal, I said, I'm willing to negotiate early and get in a contract, which, by the way, if you are an owner of a sports team and you have a superstar, top 10 in the league kind of player, Micah Parsons, Jamar Chase, TJ Watt, Malik Neighbors coming up, Justin Jefferson, some of these top end quarterbacks, sign them early. It might seem expensive now, but in 2 years when the cap goes up and all the future contracts. Remember when that Patrick Mahomes $500 million 10-year contract came out? And people were like, how are the Chiefs going to survive? It's going to be so hard on their cap. They're not going to fill the team. Now he's like the 14th highest paid quarterback. It seems like a great value.
Everybody is now like, oh no, anyway.
Yeah, and they're still winning. It seems like a great value, and they're still winning. So when you have a guy like Micah Parsons in his third year saying, hey, I'm willing to negotiate my next contract, you should go, yes, sir. What do we need to do to get this signed? And sign him for as long as you can, for as cheap as he's willing to go. And you don't push him around doing it. But it turns out Jerry said, nope, too early. We're not going to do that now. Fine. Okay. So first round pick, he's got a 5-year contract. Year 4, same thing, same result. So now we get to the current day.
Sounds like the onus you're placing is on Jerry. Who do you think the onus is on as far as Washington and Scary Terry, who also wants out, is on?
Well, to finish with the Micah Parsons things first, when it comes to these players requesting trades, and this will go for most players, it's a ploy. I'm so mad. I don't want to be here, man. And you saw it with Myles Garrett. I'm done with Cleveland. I'm out. Oh, wait, they gave me a lot of money. I'm still here. Thank you so much. You saw it with Lamar Jackson. Man, I want my money.
Yeah, because Myles Garrett wanted to have a desire to win.
Yeah, and then he got like $40 million a year, and he's like, well, I guess winning's not that important. You saw the same thing with Lamar Jackson. You see the same thing all the time.
They might want to ask Tyreek Hill, who took all the money to go to Miami, and maybe he wanted to
traded. He was traded there, but there does seem to be some dissent, unhappiness about it. It's kind of a weird situation. We'll see if even Tua is saying, yeah, it's still a little awkward. Not great. But when these trade requests come out, it's like when they put their house for sale or they scrub the team from the social media. It's all a freaking ploy, and it bothers me that this is the society we are living in the NFL and major sports. But I don't know if you saw what Micah Parsons put out, which is what I'm describing. He put that out earlier today saying, yeah, we also had a closed door meetings with Jerry Jones, and he kind of was like, hey, we're going to talk contract, and the agent wasn't there. And he's like, oh, well, I guess we got some agreement here. Finished up with my agent. The agent called Jerry, and Jerry's like, oh, you already got a deal. It's like, no, you don't. We haven't signed anything. You don't have a deal. And then they just stopped talking. So when Micah Parsons says, I want to trade, usually that request is like, yeah, sure, you want to trade. I got you. You want your money. Here's the violin. Let's play you out. I got you. I actually believe Micah Parsons is like, I really don't want to be here anymore. I think he's going to end up holding out or getting traded. Or I don't think he's under. I think he's under contract this year, but he wants an extension. He will play it out, but he will definitely be a problem for Jerry Jones. I think he's actually wants out. I think eventually he's going to have to find a way out. I don't think it's going to be easy. But when you hear all these players do it, you usually put it on deaf ears. This time, I kind of think it's real. When you talk about Terry McLaurin, I think this is a ploy. I think it's Terry McLaurin who's like, I've been a great receiver here my entire career,
Yeah,
which he
dude, you're on a
has.
team that can actually have a chance to seriously win.
Well, think about how long Terry McLaurin's been on that
Yeah,
team
true,
when
true,
they
true, true.
didn't. And ownership
Mm.
was Dan Snyder, who didn't give a crap about his fans, his players, anything but himself. And now you've got new ownership. You've got the mojo of the team turned around. You've got a great
Or
rookie
poop
who,
in the stadium.
yeah, and they're getting a new stadium. I mean, I saw a blurb. Commanders return to DC clears another hurdle with preliminary council approval. Yes, we had the whole if they don't change their name back, we're not letting them by our commander in chief, which I don't think he can do because DC's anyways. I don't think he can do it because of city politics, but that's a different problem. But you had all of that. But the vibe around the Commanders is changing. In fact, the picture at the top of the screen of me and three other people, that's from our first football game we do our friends trip that was to Green Bay. We're going to Washington this year because we want to experience the Poop Stadium before they replace the Poop Stadium. And we're hoping Terry McLaurin joins us for that game. We will see. But he has been loyal to this team for 6-7 years, his whole career, and they've been a dumpster fire until last year. And they got this rookie who came out, was playing amazing. He had really good passing yards the second half of the season once they unlocked him and unleashed him a little bit. And Terry McLaurin was a big part of that. 13 touchdowns on the season. And he wants to be paid like, hey, I was your best player for 6 years before this. I'm still one of your best players now, and I'm key to your rookie quarterback success. Pay me like I belong here. And Washington doesn't want to pay him. And maybe Terry McLaurin saying, I want $35 million a year. I want to be one of the highest paid quarter or wide receivers in the history of the league. And I get that he's not that level of guy. But at the same time, I think the Commanders have a lot of cap space, and it's just one of those, just sign him, front load the money, take the big hit this year on the cap, and then have it dwindle down. Maybe that's a sticking point. I don't know. Just doesn't make a lot of sense for them to not pay him in my mind.
All right, so we go from the please trade me a BOGO to a little bit of a bizarre situation on the Raiders, who are one of the teams that are actually projected and everyone's thinking is going to be better than they were last year, which isn't all that hard. But how about this whole thing with Wilkins, and what do you make of Kiss's teammate on forehead, HR involved, and that leads to cut and grievance follow, because that's a pretty big hunk of change. You said you had thoughts on this.
I have some thoughts on it. For what it's worth, the Commanders do currently have 17 point, just over 17 million in cap space for the year, and they could finagle the cap pretty easily. So, just closing that one out. When it comes to Christian Wilkins, I remember last year when he signed with the Raiders, I had people ask me like, "Oh, how are you going to recover from that loss as a Dolphins fan?" I didn't care. They overpaid him. And he was a weird dude when he was here. He was a weird dude when he was in college, and he was grabbing people's groins in the middle of piles. And there was a famous time when he went after Josh Allen like that in the NFL when he was a Dolphin. And yeah, he's a weird dude and kind of seems like a creepy pervert sometimes. That is an opinion, not a fact, but the circumstances would seem to point that direction more than it doesn't. I don't know the entire backstory. Now, the reason he was cut from the Raiders was not the kiss on the forehead. I'm going to remind everybody that now it was because of his foot injury that he refused a second surgery on.
Yeah, because
They
they
no
were
longer
accusing
do
they
it.
were accusing him of fraud, right?
Basically saying, hey, your contract says you are supposed to take care of your injury, whether it's rehab or surgery. We recommend another surgery. You refused it, but you're also not following a rehab that would be like, well, you're making a good effort. That's why he got cut. The whole reason this HR thing is coming out, which is what this is going to end up being, is when it goes to arbitration because the NFLPA is going to sue for the
Yeah, he's
guaranteed money.
already
It's about
filed a
$35 million.
he's already filed a grievance.
Yeah, $35 million of guaranteed money. I would go for it too if I had the ability to. He wasn't let go for the kiss in the forehead, but one of the things about the Shamar Stewart, the Bengals rookie who just signed his contract, was contract terminology around things that are ambiguous, like contract conduct detrimental to the team, contract detrimental to the league. Well, when you go in your locker room and kiss someone on the forehead and it makes that person uncomfortable, if we work the logic like we all have with day jobs, you do that in the workplace, it makes someone uncomfortable, you're going to get in trouble. Well, they can say that is contract conduct detrimental to the team. So in arbitration, they go, well, you didn't follow what we told you to do with the surgery. You didn't follow your rehab. And if they go, well, he's entitled to a second opinion. He was going to do this. He was going to do that. And they can win the arbitration in that case. They also be like, we also cut him because he's a creepy pervert kissing his teammates on the forehead in the locker room, making people uncomfortable, which is conduct detrimental to the team. And therefore he is able to have his contract voided. So that is why that story is getting so much play. I think it's why it's being pushed so heavily. It's a very weird story. Christian Wilkins should probably stop kissing people in the locker room and grabbing people on the field inappropriately. And maybe this wouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, that's like
but he did miss most of the season last year with a foot injury. He's a big guy. Foot injuries on big guys take longer to heal. And some of them don't come back from it. So the Raiders are well within their rights to be like, you didn't do what we wanted you to do. We don't think you're going to be able to come back. We'll see what it means long term. I don't think he's going to be in any legal trouble with the league. No suspension or anything like that. It's a little weird, but no suspension. But if anybody signs an injured, weird defensive lineman to a big deal, I would be surprised at this point.
And we go to the Browns, who apparently can't even do a helmet reveal without somebody falling in the water. But yeah, we have the Browns owner saying that Sanders was GM's call, not mine. That's not exactly a good look, Flying.
Yeah, I don't mind what the Browns have done trying to fix that quarterback room. I mean, Joe Flacco, not the long-term solution. He might be a very good quarterback for right now. I think he should be the starter if that team has any potential. And you think about it, yes, we talked about Quinshon Judkins and his domestic violence thing, but Jerome Ford was a serviceable running back last year. They have Dylan Sampson, even though he got blown up in camp. Jerry Jeudy's very good. Deontay Johnson's been getting a lot of good camp highlights. I know we've fallen into this camp highlights trap before with the guys like Allen Robinson with the Rams, but he's had good highlights. And David Njoku is still there. So they got good enough weapons. They have an elite defense. If Flacco is good, this could be a team that's very, very surprising. Nobody believes that because it's the Browns, and the Browns find a way to screw up everything, including a helmet reveal where people just can't figure out where the damn dock is. You would think if you're gonna do a helmet reveal on a dock, you'd think you'd have like, I don't know, your social media guy. I think you'd have your social media guy on the back of a jet ski. And you could do it from around the dock instead of trying to walk and then fall in. The Browns are one of the bottom 2 or 3 franchises in the league for how they run things, how their success rate is, and just their overall vibes in general. The Jets are down there as well, which we had the scare with Justin Fields, which turned out to be he got
Jets have a brand spanking new green locker room, though.
Yeah, who cares about them? But they had a near miss with Justin Fields. Obviously, the Aaron Rodgers thing was a debacle, starting with the snapped Achilles, 4 plays in to his entire time being outshined by Zach Wilson. The Browns just don't know how to do things the right way. And it takes very good, full new leadership from the ground up.
Browns gonna Browns.
Like you saw it with Detroit. They got new leadership on pretty much every level below the owner, and it was the right leadership, and they've taken off. I think they've got a good coach in Cleveland. I just don't think the rest of the organization upwards from there is particularly good. And that's what's going to keep them in this purgatory for a long time.
Yeah, you have to feel for Arch Manning because somebody actually asked the Browns if they were going to take him, and he's probably going, no.
I'm pretty sure, and I'll verify this, I'm pretty sure Arch Manning can go back for an extra year. I think he is only a junior.
Yeah, he's going to
If
be
he
like,
is a junior, he doesn't have to come out. Oh, he's a redshirt sophomore as of last year. It looks like it might. I don't know if this is updated for 25 or 24, but on Wikipedia it shows him as a redshirt sophomore, which means
so
redshirt means you have not only your
next
junior year,
year after this year.
but yeah, you would have I think 2 extra years after this
Oh,
one
okay.
coming up. Yeah, it's when did he start college? That's the real question here. Yeah, he's played so he's going to be a redshirt junior this year, which means as a red shirt, he actually does have, I think, 2 more years after this one. He's not, so he doesn't have to come out. So if Arch Manning's like, I played in orange in Texas, I don't want to play in orange in the pros because that's the Browns colors and the Browns suck, he can go back to Texas.
He goes, aren't you
And nothing
glad
against
you didn't come out for this year? Okay, but are you ready for some good news flying?
that. So rare. Let's do it.
Yeah, how about the whole Coach Prime is cancer free? He had a little presser this week, maybe a little bit of an overshare, but anytime anybody is cancer free, I think they get at least one free overshare credit, right?
Yeah, I don't need to hear about his diaper problems and bathroom habits in bed at night because if you have bladder, they've removed his bladder. So if you don't know how it works, the bladder controls your pee system. So without it, you don't have as much control. That's enough to say. Dion went further. If you want
Peggy
to hear it,
18.
and how he's now got a sponsorship with the Pens, or at least it's in the works, go ahead and see that news conference. Other than that, though, I have a lot of respect for Deion Sanders, both as a former
Seriously.
player and a coach, and the way he handled this, because he didn't really go out and tell anybody what was going on, including his kids, so they could focus on the NFL draft. He didn't want his kids to feel like they had to stay behind and worry about dad, which that's a pretty good move as a father to put someone else's needs before your own. But yeah, nothing but credit to Dion for handling this the right way. Great news to hear he got through it fine. He's going to return to coaching this season, so
Yeah, he's
definitely
got
what you want.
Shador, of course, who went to the Browns. And then, of course, Shiloh. He's trying to get Shiloh onto the Bucks because I saw there was a picture of him at Bucks camp. So, yeah, you kind of, when you realize that he's been dealing with cancer, that sort of makes the son of the Dolphins coordinator who prank called Shador now.
Falcons,
Yeah, the Falcons.
not Dolphins.
Sorry, Falcons. Yeah, wrong team. You have been fined one credit. Wrong team, but yeah, when the Falcons coordinator's son did the prank
Seemed
call,
like a real turd. No, you prank called a kid whose dad had cancer. Great job.
yeah, sort of like at the time, I bet that was funny. You got your yucks, but then not real classy now. Was the Falcons? That's when you want to do like the Men in Black thing, pet
Yeah.
neuralizer zap. Anywho, but yeah, so definitely fantastic news for Coach Prime, and definitely happy for him. Definitely a very human week for him.
Yeah.
All right, now talking about the Bucks, two stories. One, I don't think we're surprised about 1-3, ready for another 1,200-yard season. As what are your thoughts? Is it more about 12? Is it more about 13 going into 25? Or do you think McMillan is sexier than both of them?
I think McMillan. Did Godwin change his number to 12, or is he still 14?
Oh, he's 14? I thought he was 12.
I I'm not sure. I thought he was 14.
Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, to clarify.
I know Mike Evans is 13. I thought Godwin was 14, but things do change. I think it's going to be more about Mike Evans because Godwin is coming back from the injury. He, I guess, had a second cleanup surgery on that ankle. That's obviously not good news, but when it comes to McMillan, I think you're discounting one Emeka Egbuka, who has been just a darling of the Bucks camp from what I have heard. Making great plays. He was a great college wide receiver coming out of Ohio State, which just produces great 14 for Chris Godwin. But Ohio State
Oop,
produces.
my bad, neuralizer again.
Yeah. Ohio State produces great wide receivers. I mean, Terry McLaurin was one of them we were talking about. Garrett Wilson just got paid. Another Ohio State. Chris Olave, who's got the concussion problems, but very good receiver, so on and so forth. I think Godwin's the number one. Or sorry, I think Evans is the number one because he's healthy. He's going for the record. I'm pretty sure if he gets 1,000 yards this season, it is the most consecutive 1,000-yard receiving seasons in NFL history, especially to start a career. Breaking the tie he's got with Jerry Rice, which is pretty good. If you're in the conversation with Jerry Rice, I think you've done something right. I don't think Jalen McMillan is going to be a big factor of this offense if Chris Godwin is healthy. I do think Agbuk is probably going to take his spot. Now, if Godwin ends up not being 100%, or they look and say, look, we don't need Evans and Godwin. We can trade one and save some money, get some capital back. Might be a different story, but McMillan feels like the fourth option, third option at best if Godwin is not available or does get traded. I just don't see him being a big factor. And as far as fantasy goes, I think once you go beyond Mike Evans, you're better off taking your chances elsewhere.
And how about even though not really much of a factor in fantasy, at least as far as the offense goes as a factor of a whole, how about the 449-pound rookie Desmond Watson, who cannot practice until he gets his weight under control?
Yeah, he is the fattest player in NFL history, and I mean that with no disrespect. It's just the record for heaviest weight. Out of the University of Florida, he is a defensive lineman.
I don't think you want to make fun of anybody who plays football.
You don't, but I'm pretty sure, and I don't say this lightly as a very large man myself, I think I can outrun him. He's got at least 100 pounds on me. I can outrun him at least far enough until I can get to a snack station and throw donuts or something and distract him. All that being said, weight control is difficult. Joel, I'm a big person. I know I've had my struggles getting my weight under control.
Yes.
It's a very difficult thing, especially if you have bad habits that you have to break.
When you see things like, okay, what is the appropriate serving of Pringles? It's not the entire thing at once.
Well, if it's not the whole thing, why can my hand almost fit to the bottom? Yeah, no, trust me, I fortunately don't have like a real big sweet tooth for like cake and candy and stuff like that, but salty gets me. So yeah, the Pringles, it's like, oh, I got a bag of oh, those are gone. Shit. Sorry for the language, but that is the reaction. You're like,
yeah, pretty much. Once you open up the bag, and it just becomes sort of like
Pringles' whole slogan was "Once you pop, the fun don't stop." The fun is eating the Pringles, not looking at the can like, "Oh, I got a Pringles. I got Pringles." Yay! That's not the fun part. So yeah, I'm not trying to belittle the guy's weight. I know it's a struggle, and I hope he does do well with it. But I don't know what the threshold he needs to be at.
That's
practice.
It's a tough challenge, especially when it's not only exercise and everything else. It's just discipline. Is so hard, especially when you have certain things that call to you. Sort of like when you're on the ocean and the siren song of weight loss as they try to have you crash on the rocks with Dairy Queen or whatever it is.
And the good thing for him is, being a part of an NFL franchise, he has access to coaches and strength and conditioning
and nutritional programs
at the very least when he's in the building.
Because that's got to be cool that when all of a sudden you have access to things that most normal people like you or I, for example, that we can't say, I'm having a problem with my diet, and boom, well, we can put you in touch with our team nutritionalist, and 2 hours later, boom, they come out, okay, here's your diet that you can go ahead and, do something like one of those plans where they send you the meals and they work for the NFL as players so they can actually afford those subscriptions. As opposed like when you check something out and you're like, how much per month is this? You do all the math. And so they can afford it. And Boom, they don't have to think twice, and you have a nutritional plan. You do it, and you have your meals provided for you at the facility. So,
You got
you
to
know,
think they're at that facility 10 hours a day most days. If you've
uh,
got, workouts and you've got the dietitian there that can make sure you're on the right track in the building, you
you just
sleep
have to
8 hours. It's those
worry,
4 to 6 hours when you're not in the building.
and
You got to
weekends when
take
you're
care
not
of
playing,
yourself. And that's the
and
hard
off
part.
season.
Yeah. That's the hard part. And we saw, I mean, we make a joke. Eddie Lacy lost his career to cheeseburgers. The running back for the Green Bay Packers, a good running back for a couple years, and he got chunkier and he got bigger, and the joke just kept writing itself. I mean, you see this with players that eventually some of them can't control it. So hopefully, a guy who's already lost control, which obviously,
When you have all of a sudden that much money that you probably didn't have access to before, although not as much in these days with all the NIL craziness with college.
yeah,
Some college players probably make more than NFL players, but traditionally, college player all of a sudden can the NFL. It's like all this money. It's like the kid in the candy store.
yeah, and the thing is, like, if you're over, I don't know, 300 pounds, let's just say that you've lost control. Hand up. You've lost control. I'm not casting zones without casting one at myself with that statement.
And
Being at
we all have stuff that we need to work on.
being at 450 like this kid is, and I think he's come down a little bit. He's well lost control. He's always been a big kid, and that's usually the trend for guys who are bigger guys. You start big as a little kid, you stay big as you get bigger. And height, the whole you should be 180 with your height. It's like, yeah, okay, that's not really realistic if you exercise and have any kind of muscle definition. So, not necessarily 100% accurate on that. But if you've lost control of your diet and you have an opportunity like this with a team that's saying, hey, we want to help you get your weight in check so you can play for us, you need to not squander that opportunity. So hopefully, whether the kid ever plays an NFL down or is a star or just a footnote as the heaviest player ever drafted, hopefully this will help get his life and his health going the right direction. And for him, I hope it works out in the NFL. Only time will tell. Talent and drive and all of that is we can't measure that right now. We can measure his weight, we can measure his size, and that can improve. And hopefully, worst case scenario, it puts him on the right track for health long term. Worst case scenario, best case scenario, he loses the weight, becomes the next Aaron Donald for the Bucks, and you will be very, very happy.
Okay, are you ready? I think since we've gone on for a while, but before final thoughts, I have two funny headlines because with how this week began, I think you definitely need a lot of light stuff.
All right.
So, first headline is High Noon Recall warns some Celsius energy drink cans may contain a vodka seltzer.
Well, that's you send the wrong. Again, I can't say who, but my facility is a beverage bottling manufacturing facility. You can send the wrong bottles down the wrong line with the wrong labels and screw that up. You're supposed to catch it before you send it to consumers, so that's on them.
Yeah, it's like like you're sort of like, yeah, hun, I chugged this energy drink. I just feel really weird now.
Quality control. Why didn't you flag this? I didn't realize there was vodka. I thought it was energy drink. I just thought I was tired today.
Funny thought number two. My funny thoughts. My funny thoughts. Funny thought number two, and then one more, and then I'll let you do your final thought, and then I'll have my final thought. Number two, of course, Mike Collins, who is now running for Senate in Georgia. You ready for this, Flying?
Okay.
Misspelled Georgia in his campaign ad. Of course, Georgia spelled Georgia. He spells it Let's Ride, and it's Georiga.
Goriga.
Dope. And the
Goriga.
and
You are always on my mind. Somebody has to do that campaign ad for like a comedy set. Goriga. Goriga. And it's just some guy acting like him, like, I really love my state. It's the most important. Goriga. Sorry. That's where my mind went with that one.
and my final one, because we need some lighter stuff. especially with everything going on, not only just in the NFL, just in the world, without getting into anything. Because I think as we always try to do the prime directive of not getting into politics, just because that's like, what's that dark place, father? That you must never go there, Simba.
Yes.
But yeah, as finally the for my final lighthearted moment as this from a person who works for Yahoo Sports who has an unfortunate last name, especially with current news cycle. Jory Epstein. Oof. I wonder if she gets any
Oh
comments
no.
about that. And that's all I'll say without going any more other than that.
Look at the list, Jory. You
Uh,
clearly know it. You have the same name.
but Ah, this
Yeah.
this from Jory Epstein. When Aaron Rodgers realized toilet in his and DK Metcalf's suite flushed loudly, QB told WR, "quote At night, if we have to go, I'm censoring what they said. If we got
Number two.
if we gotta go, just don't flush the toilet." 9:30 Wednesday night. DK texted, "You asleep yet?" Aaron wasn't. Bet I'm about to flush the toilet. And my thought on that was, in parentheses, I wonder if Rogers will have any audibles that have flush in them this year.
Oh God.
And then for three, we really needed some lighter moments before our final thoughts.
Oh. Flush! It's going to DK.
Flush right, flush right,
I mean,
flush,
I
flush
don't know which
strong, flush
worse
strong, flush
because
deep.
we've all stayed at like
Yeah.
hotels or gone somewhere where the toilet's loud,
I
and
saw
it's
that one.
unfortunate.
That one. I'm like that's going in the
But
podcast
it's
right
never
there.
been so loud. I'm like, you know what? It's so loud. I would rather wake up
Better
and
loud than not working.
I would rather you flush it and be loud and maybe wake me up for a couple seconds than wake up and just stare at whatever DK left me because I can't imagine that's the great way to start the day. Oh man, it's my last
Like,
NFL season.
I
I
can't.
have my ayahuasca on the table. I'm doing that after I get done with this, but I gotta handle some business. Oh my god, it's a monster,
Ace,
DK!
for some reason, I'm thinking Ace Ventura. Do not go in there.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I had a feeling
That's
you would like that one.
that's a. I almost don't want to air that one out. I want to let that sit, just like Aaron Rodgers, and just flush the rest of the episode. But I'm not gonna. Don't really have much in the way of final thoughts other than football's back. Fantasy drafts are coming, so start working on your mock drafts. Start working on your research. Understand your league settings. Understand if something has changed. If your commissioner is not doing what they're supposed to, tell them now. Don't tell them in 4 weeks because then they can't really do anything. And just enjoy the fact that we have football for every week between now and the middle of February because, as we know, it doesn't last as long as you want it to last, and it'll be gone before you know it, and it's just begun. You have only half the year with football, and then about half the year without it. Obviously, the draft and all that's in there as well. Yeah, so that's gonna be my big final thought. I will say, and more of a warning to Joel than a final thought, we are going to be getting a puppy in about 5 weeks. It's corgi. Corgis have loud barks, so if you hear barking in the background in about 5, 6, 7 weeks, understand that is a
As loud
puppy,
as
and it
loud
is
as
not my wife.
huskies.
It's a full grown bark. Like I've
'Cause
always liked.
I've seen clips about huskies.
I've always liked corgis. They're smaller dogs. They're very very cute. They're very very playful. But one of the things you don't realize when you see them on like video or on TV is just how loud the bark actually is until you go in person. We hung out with some friends, Zach, who's drafted with us. They were puppy sitting a corgi that's actually from the same place we're getting ours, and it barked and it was loud. It was full grown, big dog, loud, and it's because they're a herding dog. Herding dogs have that loud bark so they can control what's going on, which means the cats are gonna love it. But just more of a warning. if you do hear barking in the background, the cats didn't suddenly get a new superpower. I don't have some like weird thing going on as Joel disappears. It's not my wife having a spasm or anything crazy like that. It's just a new addition to the household here. And hey, my background doesn't look so bad when it's not zoomed in either. As Joel starts to rejoin us now, we almost made it. Almost made it. So close. If we'd have just ended after the poop joke, we would have been good. So, lesson learned. If there's a good poop joke in final thoughts from Joel, I just say, have a great day, be good people, and wrap the show. And things go well if we haven't already dropped. But anyways, that is just a quick little side announcement. Not a big deal for most people, but if you watch this and all of a sudden you hear barking,
my final thought is that just a lot of crazy names that were always just sort of around part of your life one way or another. Just Hulk Hogan recently.
Yeah.
I know Governor DeSantis ended up making I think today Hulk Hogan Day, so be sure to do that. At
It's,
least
it's
once.
National Disc Golf Day, but that's a good secondary thing.
I know Hulkster didn't exactly go out exactly as you would call probably in a good light. I know
He's
he had some
conspiracy theorist, brother.
he had some stuff happen. I know he definitely declared his political allegiances, and that probably cut off half of his fans. Just like that, as that happened without going any more. That you also had Ozzy Osbourne. That's the definite name. Malcolm Jamal Warner, Theo from the Cosby Show, Chuck Mangione, if it ever feels so good, sort of in your subconscious. That's another name, and even I think recently Tom Lehrer, who, if you've heard the name before, but you were wondering who he was, it's sad to say who he was. Now he was the Weird Al before Weird Al in his generation. Because like he had a song like "So Long, Mom, I'm Off to Drop the Bomb," a song about World War III, of course, as well as many, many, many other. Probably a song he was best known for was the Element song. And to sort of do the YouTube thing for those if you want to hear some true creativity. But so many names and so many famous folks that just all of a sudden you're like, holy crap, who died? So yeah, just a lot of famous names that part of our generation just like poof, gone.
Yeah, we've definitely gone back to sadness from the poop joke and the puppy talk. So, unfortunately, Joel's Oscars in memoriam segment is how we're going to wrap things up. But it is what it is. The world's a crazy place, and when you lose some people that are very well known, especially in the case of Ozzy and Hulk Hogan dying within about 15 hours, and all of that, yeah, it's probably worth mentioning. So that is our time. We will be back. We really got to get a better schedule about this, but maybe we'll get to. I know we got to do predictions because I had to talk Joel out of doing predictions today, and this already almost taken an hour.
Good thing.
Good call.
Good thing because we would probably go another hour if we did both predictions that I had originally planned.
I think I'm going to do AFC and then NFC, and then the back of the NFC will be like the playoff and all of that predictions. We'll go through the teams that we think are going to be good. Maybe talk some fantasy.
I mean, like when you get to the Saints, okay, they're going to
they're going to be
really bad.
They're going to be real bad. And then of course we've got our draft week coming up. The 16-team draft is August 22nd.
We don't want any effing Miltons this year or Helenes.
Yes, we're not going to bring the topic hurricanes up right now because it's been a very good start in general. But yeah, draft week is going to be about 17 days. We'll start that. The marathon through that one.
I'm considering wearing a Rays shirt, but my Rays shirts are very sad this year.
Yeah. Hey, at least I started work on the drop though. So, anyways, draft week coming up in about 3 weeks. We'll have the 16-team draft 3 weeks from 45 minutes from now. So that's fun. We'll have our Yahoo draft the day before. We'll do our fantasy drafts, previews, and mock drafts going between now and then. So I think next week we want to try and do the AFC, NFC previews. The week after, maybe do a mock draft and some of our personal thoughts on some players that are maybe not so well drafted, not so well thought of. Anybody you're surprised you're out on, and then we'll get to draft week. We'll do all of that. We'll have a little bit of a lull between the draft week and
why are you
season.
down on Hollywood Brown?
Yeah, I've got one I am very high on that I can get for free, and I don't even want to talk about it. But it's sad. It's sad. It's embarrassing. What's the Shane Gillis line? It's sad. It's embarrassing. Some people think it makes you look like a B word, but I like it. Yeah, that's where I'm at on this player. It's not one you want to say too loud because you're going to get mocked and ridiculed, and you'll hear the.
And Mental Night changed Godwin to 1-4.
Yeah, I thought he changed.
Not 1-2.
I think he was 12 his rookie year, and then switched to 14.
Sorry, Chris.
It's all right. He's got one ankle. He can't chase you down either.
I still won one. I still won one and pissed at me.
No, I don't blame him. But we are going to be ramping this up. So we're going to do previews next week. We'll start looking more towards the fantasy side of things the week after. Do maybe a mock draft. Maybe we can get Zach to help us out with one of those if he's got some free time. And then the week after, we'll start doing our big deep dive fantasy coverage, getting to the season. Week after that, I know I'll be traveling for a draft. So maybe a lighter week then, and then we'll be right back into the season. Pick'em's going to be coming back in full.
You won't have to take your shoes off.
Oh, that's going to be nice. Even though I do finally have slip-on shoes to do that. Anyways, yeah, but we're going to have our Pick'em come back. We're actually not going to have to cancel half the season to Pick'em for a hurricane, hopefully. But
Please.
We're in a better situation here than we were before. And
all of a sudden, that was, hey,
there was also
all of a sudden, Milton Pierce out and
there's also
and it's just like, oh, bleep me.
There's also some bigger things going on with me with the passing of a relative right around that same time. That kind of threw us into chaos. So the show wasn't really an option. I mean, we weren't even settled to have a place to record for about 3 or 4 months.
A little bit of chaos incarnate there.
So, anyways, that's the upcoming plan.
Is this like Bugs Bunny? Shut up, shutting up.
It's been an hour. It's been a while since we talked for an hour because we haven't done this for a little bit. But that's the upcoming plan. That's where we're going.
Well, we wanted to end one more positive note.
I didn't want, I want to go back to where we felt after the poop story. I really do. And talking about how we're going to have a puppy, which we're naming after a Marvel character, which I want you to guess just one time, knowing me, what we're naming the puppy after. It's a Marvel character. It's not visible on the screen behind me.
Deadpool?
No.
Oh.
Rocket.
Oh, okay. Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. The Groot was a hint, but it wasn't. There's actually a tiny little thing right here from the Guardians of the Galaxy ride that Rocket is technically in. But you can't really see him from here. I've also
no Rocket. You can't have his arm.
Yeah. God, I'm going to have so much fun with this just because of all the horrific Rocket references I can do. Anywho's, if I can find a stuffed Bucky arm, I might have to do that. Anyways, that would be very weird. It's probably a custom Etsy thing, and I don't want that on my search history. Anyways, that's the time. I am flying Ryan Gokers along with
Tampa Motormouth, Joel Verlin.
And with that, remember, don't flush your toilets at night if they're really loud, especially if it's a big chunk you're leaving for your roommate. And with that, we gone. Unlike what's in the toilet.